Tour of my studio slash workshop area. I don't know. It's my office. It's where I get work done. So first up, I got my sound system hooked up right now. It's running out of some KRK Rocket monitors. I normally use that for doing music mixing and basically just recording music. But most of the time I use them for listening to. Just gotta close my window here. Most of the time I use them for listening to music like I am now. So I got some Hans Zimmer playing here, and so I use primarily use this as my main PC. It's a Windows 10 PC, and it's generally what I run my recording software on. So I run Pro Tools, and I also edit video on here occasionally. It's basically the computer I spend most of my time on. This computer here is hooked up to this left monitor. That is what I call my engineering PC. It's what I use for designing PCBs, writing code, or doing anything engineering related. I typically exclusively do on this PC. It's basically an old HP that I got for $100 from a store in Kijiji, and it works great. I mean, I've never had any issues with it, and it's great for when I want to work on some of my engineering projects on my left screen here, and then on the right screen I'm running this PC here. And another thing I recently did, which I'm pretty happy about how much time this has actually saved me, but to turn on and off my speakers, I have a switch back here, and it's often hard just trying to reach back here and try to find it. Don't usually have the patience for really anything, so I'm always constantly trying to find something to make any part of my day a little bit faster. So right now I have this little power bar off to the side here, and I find it quite useful for plugging in like solder irons or hot glue guns, or from just working on something on my desk. So I ended up, so I wanted to be able to just simply turn on my speakers using this switch here, and but I didn't want to have some ugly cords sticking out the front, so I ended up splicing an old power bar in. So that's running over to, I have a power bar down there with a fuse on it. So if any of my wiring that I've done myself on 120 volt line, if any of that it shorts out, or which I don't think it would, I did a pretty good job, but if it does, it's going to be tripped by the power bar down there. And this is, of course, my phone charger. I got this from my brother for Christmas, and it's meant to be a car charger. It's meant to go in your standard lighter input, but I just liked it so much. I didn't really have space for it in my car. It was kind of a little big for my car, but I just still wanted to use it because I just love it so much, and so I ended up modifying it to run off a 12 volt wall plug. And so I can turn on the flashing on and off, but most of the time, if I have a USB cable around and I need to charge my phone, I can just plug that right in. So here is my complicated sound system setup. So here I have my M Audio sound card, and that's typically where I run any inputs to for recording. So you can see I have a mic back here, but that's what I'd plug directly in if I wanted to record any acoustic. But I have the output of this split in two. So I got one going to the wireless of some wireless speakers all throughout my kitchen and some in my bathroom. So this goes off to them. I also have the other side split off, which goes into a tube which I have routed all the way to the front of my room, which I have where I plug in my speakers. Yeah, I can turn off the external speakers from here if I just want to mix music and not have any other lesser quality speakers. If I just wanted to mix music just on the Rockets, I can simply just turn it off from a couple buttons up here. I also have a MIDI keyboard, which is always plugged in to my my music recording computer. It's pretty fun to just noodle around on some synths that I have sitting in Pro Tools. But yeah, and so this keyboard here, the one that's sitting on top of that, that's actually used for my I guess engineering PC. Actually, and also above here I have my my voltage source. Use it for all kinds of projects. It's always nice to have if I'm running something here. I can basically just power it and not have to worry about running cables all throughout my desk. So I also use a USB oscilloscope. I use the Analog Discovery, which is pretty good. I like it. It's one of the few ones that I've USB scopes that I think are really good. So anyways, I use that on this PC. So when I'm working on something, I generally have you know, some banana plugs hanging out here, and I got wires hanging in my PC, and then yeah, it's just a good space to work on. And of course, we got the desk lamp there to you know, illuminate your project and or whatever the heck I'm doing on here. And I also have a PCB coaster, which I made myself. It's just some cork on the bottom of an old board I made. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my desk. And of course, we have my calculator there. It's use that all the time. Much better than using these calculators that are on your computer. That I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same when I'm trying to think of something or do any quick calculations. And yeah, we got my little business cards here too. Yeah. We have my workbench. It's on a little wheelie cart here, so if I have guests over and don't want my workbench out, and if I don't want this stuff sticking out, I can throw it all on my workbench and wheel it in my closet. But anyways, it's where I do most of my soldering. I don't know, hammering, drilling, anything that requires kind of a rough surface. So I have my anti-static mat here that's plugged in the ground. Got my my magnifying lamp here. I use that for doing any kind of surface mount soldering. And I have a my cheap Chinese knockoff soldering iron here. It's called a Yihua 936. I only bought it for $30, but it's generally a pretty good soldering iron. It's I forgot the name of the model. It's supposed to imitate, but I got some, you know, spare tips in there, and got a little cleaning pad here, so it's served me well. I mean, you can adjust the temperature to up to 896 degrees, and yeah, it works great. And in here we have my kind of junk bin, I guess. So I have my you know, my PIC programmers, of course my Analog Discovery, multimeter, drumsticks for some reason. Yeah, just different parts I use fairly often. Flashlight for some reason. Next we have my my reference books, and also for some reason an old phone case. But primarily I use PIC Basic Pro to do a lot of my programming on microcontrollers. So have a little reference manual here. I'm very visual, or sorry, tactile, I guess is the word, because I'd much rather have an actual printed book when it comes to reference manuals, rather than just like a PDF where you don't have to you don't get to flip through the pages. I don't know, it's the way I learn. I mean, everybody has their own preference. I also have a C programming manual in here. Not much to say about that, but it's basically a printed textbook. So if you wrote this, please don't be mad at me. I was a broke student when I bought this, or when I made this. And down here we just have different bins full of different things. I got my assorted resistors. I have jumper wire for breadboards. I think this is just chips I'm using in the current project that I'm working on. So that kind of changes from week to week, depending on what I'm really focused on that week. Sometimes I fill it up with different parts, and it's just a way to kind of put things away when I'm working them on my desk. I can just kind of throw it all in there and take it out when I need to quickly refer to them. We also have some jumpers here. These I find pretty useful if I can open it. I use a lot of different ones here. So there's like little pincer ones with a pointy tip on the end. You can just stick it into the breadboard and grapple onto anything. So sometimes you have loose wires, and you just want to grapple onto them with a little tiny finger-like hands. And also, there's also specialty parts I've made in here just to make my life a little easier. Sometimes I have kind of a dangling jumper wire here, and I want to plug it into some alligator clips. Do that as well. You can stick the little wire in here. Another little part I made was this thing. It's you can stick it into breadboards, but also stick banana plugs in the end. So yeah, just got a couple things that I use on a regular basis in there. And here we have Molex connectors and various standard size 2.54 millimeter pins. Yeah, and I don't have a crimping tool for any of these connectors, so I fiddle with tweezers a lot every time I come to these drawers. Yeah, so I don't always have this thing out, so usually I keep it out when I'm working on something, or yeah, it's just a good little surface to work on. And then of course we got my diplomas up here, and we got my whiteboard here. So whatever project I'm currently working on, I like to write some stuff down on this. I also have my have monthly goals I write on this. So I find it's just, if I have my goals written out and for the month, it just I don't know, kind of enforces me to actually do these things, and rather than if I just had it stored in my mind. You'll see the my closet setup. This is also equally important to my office space, just because it allows me to keep my office relatively clean while I leave all my parts and just dangling wires, and I also have everything pretty well sorted here. So I got like switches and, you know, mini computers. What else do I have? I have wireless stuff, displays, microcontrollers, cables, heat sink tubing. I thought that was funny. What else do I have? I think I have another one called bread bizzles for breadboards. But yeah, I have it pretty well categorized here. The ones I use the most probably are the op amps, shift registers, buffers. Got analog to digital converters. We got digital to analog converters. Oh yeah, and of course voltage regulators, caps. Use that all the time. And yeah, I mean, it's I kind of make it as I go and as I find a use for them. So I got plenty of spare bins up there. So that railing actually that I have out in my office is one of the old railings that used to belong to this rack here. So that's why it's compatible with all these bins. So if I need some caps or if I need some resistors, I can bring it out to my office and kind of work on it as I please. And the surface I use for posting designs, and I got a big schematic here from something I made, printed out. And here's my little wire rack. I find towel hooks the best thing for carrying wires, and you know, just any kind of cables that I need, or that I think that I'll use later. I can just kind of slide it off and add to it as I need. So yeah, that's my office and the general layout.